Have you ever lost someone you loved and felt like you were drowning in grief and sorrow while you desperately searched for ways to get them back? Then you understand the pain of the weeping woman in white, La Llorona. Think back to when you were young. It's late after school and you miss the bus home. The sun is setting. You walk, slowly at first, until a warning echoes in the back of your mind. If you don't get home before dark, the weeping woman will get you. Your pace quickens. Suddenly, you reach a bridge over a river, just as you hear someone crying nearby. Do you turn to help them, or do you keep moving forward to save yourself? This is Monster Quest Origins. The Rio Grande. In Mexico, it's known as the Fierce River of the North, winding over 1,800 miles from the snowmelts of Colorado's San Juan Mountains to the Gulf of Mexico.
It's unseasonably dry right now. We're experiencing an incredible drought. It's an imposition on our way of life here because the river is a life force for people who've lived along its valley.
Some believe the Rio Grande marks not just the line between two nations, but the threshold between the seen and the unseen. Because in the still of night, if you listen closely near the water's edge, you might hear more than the rustle of reeds or the call of an owl. You might hear a woman weeping.
La Llorona is as common here as the cottonwood trees in the bosque, and there's as many versions of her as there are leaves on any one of these trees.
Because the story of La Llorona, like the Rio Grande itself, flows across time, picking up fragments of culture, memory, and fear, and like a river, it branches into tributaries. One such branch tells of a young woman named Maria, the most beautiful in the land, who was courted by many suitors, but eventually chooses a gentleman as handsome as she. They marry and have 2 little boys, and everything is perfect. Until one day, Maria's husband rides out of town with a younger woman by his side. The next morning, Maria bathes her sons in the river. Blinded by rage, her hands never let her children emerge from under the water. It was only until their limp bodies floated downriver that she realized what she'd done. Mis niños! Maria screams after them. She chases their bodies down the river as the water rises higher and higher, and she slips beneath the surface, never to emerge again. Since then, as the story goes, a weeping woman in white wanders the waterways, searching for the children she lost, a warning to those who stray too near the river's edge. Maria is just one of many variations of the weeping woman's story. Like most legends, it's hard to pinpoint an exact origin, but rivers are ancient, and the legend of La Llorona may be too.
Some people have associated La Llorona with Malintzin, the interpreter for Hernán Cortés.
Malintzin, the oldest child of Nahua nobility in the Yucatan Peninsula, born about the year 1500. But how does a woman from over half a millennia ago connect to the myth of La Llorona? Malintzin may have been born into royalty, but at a young age, she was sold into slavery. As an enslaved person, she became fluent in the languages of the Mayan and Aztec people. It is thought that with her help, Cortés was able to conquer the Aztec Empire. Since then, she has been labeled as a traitor. But many see her as a victim, someone forced into being Cortés's consort, with whom she had a son and daughter. In that part of her story lies a connection to the La Llorona myth.
Seeing the impending doom that the conquest was going to impose upon her people, she took their 2 children and drowned them in the lake, thereby becoming the first La Llorona.
That's the legend, at least. In reality, Malintzin did not drown her children, but myths are made in complex ways.
She gave birth to the first mestizos, the first people who were both Spanish and indigenous. So by her being identified as La Llorona, we can identify with her in that way of part of ourselves being lost and searching for who we are.
For hundreds of years, the tale of La Llorona has existed in numerous forms, and with the passage of time, it has evolved.
I grew up hearing this story from my own grandmother, who of course heard it from hers, and so on and so forth. Where my grandparents live in northern New Mexico, their property butts up against an acequia, which are irrigation channels. So to prevent the children from potentially harming themselves in the acequia, right, drowning, we were always told that if we were out back there and we shouldn't have been, La Llorona was gonna come and get you, and we would never be heard from or seen again.
It's a tale some children in the Hispanic community have heard for decades. A tale that the author and researcher Bess Lomax Hawes documented in a 1968 article that appeared in the journal Western Folklore called La Llorona in Juvenile Hall. She writes, I investigated the Las Palmas ghost tales primarily because of my basic human reaction. They made me want to cry. Hawes had heard countless tales of La Llorona, but the stories told by these young women in Juvenile Hall were different because these girls believed that the weeping woman was real. The kids are buried in her backbone, but she doesn't know it. She's been looking for them ever since, a 16-year-old girl said. Another cautioned, she appears on nights of rain. She stands and looks in windows at juvie. La Llorona has long hair and walks around crying. She attacks bad kids in juvie, said another. For these kids, La Llorona was as real as the trauma they had endured. As Hawes writes, the three faces of the traditional La Llorona, the temptress, the child killer, and the mourning woman, merge into one frighteningly ambiguous figure. The weeping woman, perhaps the one near consistent truth across all the stories of La Llorona, are her tears. She cries for her children, for her actions, for herself. If we stop and listen closely to her, do we hear a woman who means us harm? Or is she seeking help, even perhaps forgiveness?
I've changed perspectives on her stories since I was a child, being terrified of a scary-looking woman. But as I grow older, I can see her as a mother, searching for her children, and that kind of love, while she ultimately carried out a really heinous act, the remorse that she has, her inability to rest until she finds them, that's something that a lot of parents may be able to identify with. I certainly can.
Today, the woman in white has come to embody our fears across cultures and geography. It's sometimes said she waits near water, rivers, lakes, reservoirs. Sometimes she drifts onto highways at midnight or lingers at the edges of a park. Fear mixes with memory, and the story flows on. Rooted in old traditions of Mexico, carried north into new waters, the woman in white moves like the rivers she's said to haunt, reshaped with each telling, yet always flowing, carrying her voice forward.